the Secretary of Commerce. And as far as I know, it's gonna do, the letter came out a month ago, whatever it was, saying that no announcements were made in next year. So that's the the city had a discussion 2 months ago, maybe, about, and none of this happened since. So, do you build roads out to and everything else, and the cost of doing that, and how do you pay for it, and that's all gonna fall in place. But that's basically all I have with it.
Well, I know in the letter it said if there is any businesses going out there, they would readdress the issue. And so that's why I was asking.
And I know she's been meeting with them, and I don't know what, of course, we've always said from the get-go, this is a three-pronged, there's three things happen here. They gotta put the interchange in, but to put the interchange in, you gotta have businesses, but to put business in, then you gotta have local infrastructure. And no matter which comes first, or do all come at the same time, or how do you promise that? Because you're not gonna get a business to commit if there ain't no interchange, you're not gonna get a business to commit if there's no infrastructure getting there. Likewise, you're not gonna build the infrastructure to get there if you're not gonna have an interchange or businesses. You're not gonna do the interchange there too, so. But she's carried the ball on that, I know, and she's in Virginia this week.
She's not available then.
She's in Virginia, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, transient guest tax.
I'll take that. There's been a continuous conversation about the possibility of raising the transient guest tax another 2%. That put us in line with surrounding communities to essentially be able to capitalize and get some of those funds back into our community. We as a community, we talk about not having enough parks, not having enough facilities for kids to go and use for basketball, baseball, soccer. We talk about beautifying our area, and Grant is I guess a big eyesore for our community. And so one of the things, somebody said something. All right, sorry. One of the things that I know we've talked about, and it's come up at a lot of our joint events that we've been able to talk about with USD 475 and city, is how do we as a community build on that? Of course, it's going to take funding. Nobody's really acknowledged how to really get those funds in place. I think the best way to do that is through transient guest tax. You go to a lot of other communities here in Kansas, and when they start up Riverwalk projects, new parks, new facilities, one of the ways that they achieve that goal is through using their transient guest tax. Transient guest tax is essentially heads and beds from people that come in and visit our community and, go to our parks, go to our lake, and really utilize some of the great things about our community. I think the best way for the commission and the county to be a part of some of those enhancements in our community is by leveraging that fund. That way it's not a hindrance to our tax base. And again, those monies are being brought in through the usage of facilities and things that we already have. So we first kicked around possibly a 1% increase. I know we've had support from 2 different entities that would like for us to raise it to 2%. That gives us, the opportunity to have some funds to partner with city and school district on future projects. I would like for us to try to put a committee together, if we were able to do that, to work hand in hand with our Main Street entity and possibly the chamber, to see what projects or what things we can really put on the table for us all to really talk about. It's sad when you when you have, people trying to reach out and there's not enough basketball courts for kids to practice on. It's sad when our one good park that we have it's gonna be ran down in another year because that's the only one that's being used on a daily basis. So I think it's a good time to really talk about using or tapping into the transient guest tax. I've talked with Donna about it. She's on board with looking at how other communities have done it. I wanted to bring it to you guys' attention. I've had some talks with Ron Johnson about it, a few other board members and city folk, and just what are your thoughts? I guess we should go there.
What's the next step of action? Is it just something that comes up does it have to be a motion?
We have
by
to
one
do
of the
a
commissioners?
charter resolution to do that. Right now, our transient guest tax is 6%. 5% of that goes to the CDB general operation. 1% goes into for sports complex fund. Manhattan's 7.5%. They charge 7.5% for their transient guest tax. Abilene does 8%. So we're pretty low, and I think one of the reasons why I think past commissions have left it low was because our sales tax was so high. But now our sales tax is, everybody's pretty much catching up to us. So, so it doesn't put the hoteliers, in a disadvantage if they're charging about the same for the hotel room. They're going to be paying the same amount of taxes. So I do think it's something that we should look at to benefit, because we have some rundown play areas, and I think it would behoove us to look at to be able to host things and bring people into our community, because kids sports is a huge deal.
So is it just a matter of a commissioner making a motion and
Yeah, I think
then you have
yeah.
to do a charter?
Well, it depends on, that and to decide on how much. I know we've been asked to do 2%. I don't know if I want to be over.
Would the monies be directed to the general fund of the CBD or the sports complex?
And that's one of the things I think that Commissioner Tyson was wanting to look at was, what could they be used for? Could it be used to refurbish the YMCA? Could it be used to refurbish? I know girls' sports has been kind of neglected in this community, and the softball fields are awful, and they do belong to the county, and so I definitely would want to do something out there. But I mean, just different things that we could have a committee that could say, hey, this is what we want to concentrate on with those monies. And so
How much is that 1% generating?
That 1% so far, I think
about
we're,
100,000 a year.
It's no big money.
No.
I mean, it seems like if you're looking at 1% versus 2%, we're talking about bringing money in from outside the community versus inside.
Mhm.
Seems like you go 2. And when's the last time you were traveling? You're like, let's go to the next town because that 2% sales tax on hotel.
Yeah.
You don't see it till you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that it's negligible from a traveler's perspective and beneficial to our community.
and like I said, the other side to this is it has to, it has to be an agreement where we're working side by side with you guys, because at the end of the day, you guys are bringing, the school district. It's built a brand new school with some facilities that it's on the city to maintain and bring in facilities and parks. The county doesn't really do those things, but if we're able to help and partner and work together and leveraging funds and putting funds together that way, we're again lessening the burden on taxpayers.
And we're all the
I think it's a
beneficiaries.
win-win, but
We're gonna be having discussions here soon with our budget and what to do with our remaining ARPA funds as well.
Mhm.
And one of the ideas has been to have new playground equipment at Coronado Park. So it'd be kind of the opposite part of town from Fifth Street Park. There'd be another opportunity over there. So those, as we know, the equipment is rather pricey, so the money will go quick, and there's no question there's needs all over. We've got, 18 plus parks, and we don't have anything west of 77, and we'd like to have something over there sometime soon, but it's just tough paying for everything.
Has the CBB retired the debt for the convention center.
Yes,
Yes.
So that, how much was that a month?
it was 75,000 a year.
A year was
It was 150.
So, but the
Between the
CBD
county and
paid
the
75,000 and the county general paid 75,000.
So when did that get retired?
Last year.
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Okay, so that's,
Yeah.
But full disclosure, the hoteliers don't want this increase. And they sent us a letter. And playing devil's advocate, a lot of our hoteliers are dealing with contractors. And all of us in here, yeah, when we travel, we probably don't pay attention to it. But if they try and get a bid on an RFP on where to stay, for instance, Fort Riley contractors, they look for the cheaper rates,
But if it's more than 30 days, they don't collect it.
28 days.
28 days. So, yeah.
Right.
Nonetheless, given
Right.
what everybody around
But
us is.
I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Sure, no, and I-
Which is why I said, not going over Manhattan, because I mean, they're right on our tail for sales tax, so it's pretty much basically the same thing.
But yeah, and so it's, you travel to Kansas City to a ball tournament, you have to prove that you're staying there and you're paying upwards of 14-15%. Just made reservations for a mandatory training at the Texas Motor Speedway, I'm paying 19%. So all things being relative, it's we're in line, it's location, it's accessibility. The only gate the contractor's going through is on Grant Avenue or by the airfield. So not being above Manhattan, being competitive, and let's face it, all of our overflow is from Manhattan because there isn't the hotel rooms there for game day or anything else when we do capitalize on this. So I really think it's a win-win. And they may have a different perspective on it, but the reality is, I guess, if you're collecting it, it's one thing. I've always had issue with the lack of accountability or auditing for their collection of it.
Exactly.
So it could be 1 out of 5 they're reporting, but nonetheless, I don't think their voice is really
Did I
as
hear,
loud as it should.
did I hear, or am I thinking of something else? Did the legislature or some entity pass a bill that requires that when you log on to reserve a room, the cost has to be advertised with the transient guest tax?
I haven't seen that.
I could have sworn, but
Never seen that any side.
Yeah, I've never seen.
Well,
I've never seen it either, but.
No, I mean, I never heard of the legislation. I've never
Yeah.
heard of it.
They'll say the applicable taxes, but that's all they'll
It's
say.
usually plus.
Usually
Plus
what?
applicable.
Yeah.
Plus
They'll say applicable, that's all I've ever seen.
So it's one of those, it is what it is kind of things, and you deal with it, and you're staying there because it's the location.
Or you have to.
Mhm.
Well, a lot of people really, they look at the lodging. And that's what they base it on. I mean, not so much tax, but the lodging.
When I had 3 young kids, it
And they look at
mattered
the
about an indoor
ratings.
pool. Now
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
so. Anyway,
Okay.
It is a discussion that we're having, and I think for it to be a real discussion, I guess you guys gotta figure out if you guys wanna be a part of that discussion as well, so.
You think we need like a feasibility study of our parks and ball fields? More than likely,
It wouldn't hurt.
perhaps that funding could be used
It
to provide direction.
wouldn't hurt.
No
Yeah, maybe
representation
even just
from all
like
3
audit of
entities.
all of our parks on what is it, because I know
Wherever
the
we need to go.
south park, or the girls softball field, they need
Yeah,
all new
they
lighting.
they canceled, I got a phone call that they had to cancel games, one night because only 2 light poles were working.
Mhm.
And so, I don't have girls, but
Phil probably has that.
I know a lot of people with girls, and I think our girls' sports is not,
Clary Park softball.
Yeah,
needs
Clary's
to
not good either.
yeah,
Need to be looked at as
so.
well.
so
I like that, is
To
it,
answer-
seeing the plan.
to answer your question, so we were approached by a group that wanted to do a feasibility study for a sports complex.
Sure.
That's still out there. We can do that, phase 1. And originally it was all for up around State Park. But we could, I've talked to that group, And it can be all encompassing for the whole community. It doesn't have to be state park. Matter of fact, they would rather have it done here.
I think it makes more sense to have it here.
Well, yeah, they don't even
And that
have
would
enough
be
water out there.
18,000, yeah, right. And so there's $18,000 for phase one. And that can come out of the sports complex fund.
It
Yeah,
can't,
just explain it, because
Because we-
when I said it was-
we can't use the money out of the sports complex fund
Why not?
because,
Is that
we
specifically for?
specifically sport.
Well, but that's
Spelled it
figured
out.
out.
No, it's not figuring out if we need a sports complex, we're talking
It can
about
come out of general fund.
improving, yeah,
Yeah, they
improving.
can come out of the general.
So,
But with
Or
the
we could probably
study, we
maybe
don't
find
know.
somebody else that could do the study, I mean, I don't know, we do a RFP on that, that's a pretty expensive thing to do, but. Yeah, all right,
I can talk with Betsy tomorrow and see what we can drum up.
all right,
So it's just something to add to the city, one of our meetings to talk about,
Sure,
when there's 5 of us.
yeah, that's fine.
We can add it to our agenda sometime.
So for superintendent,
Just put-
how does it work as far as if utilizing school ball fields for tournaments? I mean, entity wants to come down or come to town and put one on, how does that work? They have to have permission for you and you have a contract to use fields and so on?
We normally go through a process where my athletic director will sit down and we'll meet with them, find out exactly all the
Sure.
particulars, details, amenities that they want, and then build some type of contract that covers all of the expenses
Sure.
and make that known up front. Normally, that's it. It's pretty simple that way.
Do you get a lot of takers on that? I mean, are there a lot of people looking for?
We haven't
to use facilities?
recently. I know we have had some regional tournaments that we are now putting ourselves out there for through the state,
Right.
KSHA,
Sure.
the Athletic Association.
Right.
But outside of that, we have not had entities to really talk. I know Fort Riley had approached us about doing something with their flag football. We did something a little bit with that, but that was about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So my question, based piggybacking on that, so you can or cannot do outside entities other than Kansas sports activities?
I mean, we could. I haven't looked into it to really study it, but I'm not aware of anything at this present moment. I would definitely need to do a little bit of homework on that and can get back with you.
I know Donna has worked with, I want to say it's Christian college athletes. I can't remember.
Fellowship of Christians.
Fellowship, yeah, and not FCA, the college association for Christians.
AIKC.
I think so. And she's gotten bids that she's looked into with possibly using some of the school's facilities. Their times are wonky though, because I know they wanted to hold their tennis championship, but it was during school hours at the middle school, and so it would have messed up some things. But I think she's been coordinated with Chris and Gigi to figure out some of those things. And I know at some point when they're ready to pull the trigger, then it'll come up to the school district and you guys make a decision. So I know that they've been working on some of that stuff.
Very good. Anything else on that? Great. Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the Glen Hills Regional Council and the Brownsfield LLDCC grants.
I asked Jana Williams to come and talk about the Brownfield grant that we just received, and then the OLDCC grant that we can try to get a feasibility study, or comprehensive plan.
And I'll start with the EPA grant. I've talked about it many times with you, but we did receive that 1.5 million for the region and included Junction City in it for another area plan. This would be the third one. And I passed out, I'm sorry, I don't have more of the boundary study of the study boundary for Junction City. As I said, this will be our third area plan. So we did the Grant and Washington intersection for the first one, and then we did 8 blocks of downtown last year. And so looking at this area, we talked about perhaps doing Grant Avenue for the next one, but that's up to the city and what you want to do within this boundary. We can also expand this boundary, but it's pretty well showing what it should. So as you know, the Brownfield Assessment Grant provides for phase 1s and phase 2s, structural studies, area planning, and removal of underground storage tanks, which we have done in Washington. And so the area plan process, if those are not familiar with it, and we do have a story map on our website where you can go and look at the Junction City story map on the last plan. So basically, an area plan is just like a corridor study or a refined area study. And they look at existing conditions and look at the brownfield inventory along the corridor. They define sub-districts and identify beautification strategies, as well as develop concepts for public spaces, and then finally do an implementation strategy and plan to go forward. So that is sort of the EPA Brownfield Grant in a nutshell, really condensed version. Any questions about that? We have budgeted about $85,000 for the area plan, and again, we're open to also assist anyone else that has a site that would like to do phase 1, phase 2, take out an underground storage tank. This is all free. There's no match to this grant. So we're not just looking in the study boundary for sites. We're looking anywhere in the city, county for sites. Questions on that one?
Is this just identification or is this removal as well?
Removal of
The,
Underground storage tanks for
Yeah.
the tanks. So
The
it's
tanks,
for
yes,
everything.
yes, the tanks, you can use it for
Comprehensive.
this, yeah.
So the tanks, yes, it is removal.
That's how they did the ones at 18th and
Right,
Washington,
Right, I
yeah.
just want to make sure
Yeah, it
it's
was the same.
all inclusive.
You know, and I don't know if, last time we had this done and they had, pretty much a town hall where people could come and look at the ideas that they have and, and I hope that, our EDC director is using those to try to persuade some businesses. I mean, somebody just bought the area, right by the river at 18th and Washington where I'm dating myself, the very, very old water treatment plant used to be when I was a kid. Just bought that there, and I hope that we're trying to find out who it is so they can look at that because there are some ideas up there. I don't know what their plans are for that property, but it'd be nice of them to have that accessible on, hey, this is something that could be done. This is what we've studied. So,
Definitely.
How does it affect salvage yards?
Well, first of all, I should say that this is a volunteer program. It's not a regulatory program. So how does it affect salvage yards? If the owner of a salvage yard would like to participate, they may. And then you would start with a phase 1, which is gleaning public information, history, past owner, past history of use, aerial images, to determine if there's possible contamination. And when that could be, petroleum, that could be, mostly we work with downtowns or where it's lead and asbestos paint. But we do come across petroleum for salvage yards and gas stations, so. And then once the owner looks at a phase 1, if they don't want to continue on with phase 2, they don't have to. It's completely voluntary and the owner determines what they want to do, so.
But it also includes buildings with lead paint
Asbestos,
and
mold.
asbestos. They could mold, be used for that.
And why the phase 1s and phase 2s are helpful, say you want to sell your building, then you could do a phase 1 and get to that point and say, okay, it's clear for sale. And so you could tell any prospective owner or buyers that, hey, this building is clean, we don't have to worry about
Very
that.
helpful.
Also, if you're buying a building, some of the small business loans require to have a phase 1 and phase 2 done. And so that could be, a phase 1 and phase 2 together could be up to $20,000. So this would take care of that to help you get your loan. So
yes,
that is one of the reasons that we do this.
nice. Thank you.
So how do you roll this out to the public.
Well, I think the city has to make the decision on where you,
She did an initial presentation, but we haven't.
We haven't got
We haven't
anything yet
firmly got-
for this next phase. I mean,
Right.
yeah, you got, nothing was decided on where you want to do.
well, we haven't got any,
Right, and we just got notified.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they just got the,
just
yeah,
got
they
the
just got the grant, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but my question is, now that you're notified, how would you roll it out?
Well, I think that's something that we will have.
she'll bring it up, once I hear about it, then we'll pass it on, but yeah, we haven't got, that doesn't happen yet.
And I will say, since this is the maximum amount, 1.5 million, we've never worked with that much before, it's a 4-year grant. So it was timing issues. And say you want to do a comprehensive plan, you would want to do that first, probably, and then do the corridor plan to plan your comprehensive plan.
Oh, nice.
So we have 4 years to use that money. You have 4 years to use that money and do something.
This is the only grant that was awarded in Kansas to this region.
Yes, to us, yeah. Before, it's been, City of Topeka has gotten it before. We were the only entity in Kansas for this round.
Right, that's what I mean.
And I will say it will be the same consultant, and there is a lot, as you, some of you may know, that were involved. There's a lot of public outreach, a lot of public events for input.
Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, just got one more thing. Yeah.
So the second one, I probably should have led with this one, but it's a little bit more complicated. So we received funding from the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, formerly OEA, which is under the Department of Defense. And I'm getting ready to submit the next grant. And we are working on comprehensive plans, which is part of the joint land use study recommendations. We are offering housing studies, which we've already done for Junction City a couple of years ago, which is on our website if anybody wants to look at the housing study. We're looking at cybersecurity studies and infrastructure studies. So I want to talk a little bit about the comprehensive plan. I understand you have a city-county joint plan. This grant is a 90-10 grant, so any services, there's a 10% match, which can be done with an in-kind time match, which has always been the case with this grant, or of cash. As part of that, I need to let you know that they ask and recommend that you include a section on compatibility, because from a compatible use grant, compatibility with Fort Riley. And that includes, and that's what the large handout is with the text, that you include a military overlay district map and a military influence areas. And those military influence areas are talking about subjects such as noise compatibility, renewable energy compatibility, which relates to solar farms and large-scale wind farms, and then also, and the UAS flight corridor, safety zones, which involve the airfield, and frequency, MIA, which prevents interference with the frequency spectrum in order to successfully complete operational missions within the installation and its training areas. So those are some of the areas of concern that compatible use between cities, counties, and the military installation come around. It's a recommendation, and so I wanted to give this information to you so you can study it, because I know there's a lot to it, and you would obviously want to know about that. And also, I do have the Junction City pages from the joint land use study, but also the county pages are exactly the same recommendations. So
And what specifically is the website, the webpage?
it is the flinthillsregion.org.
Okay.
So when was the last time we did this? Stantec did this in what year? Because I was involved with that.
Okay, the update was 2017, and that's what I'm holding.
Okay.
We're still working on that one.
Okay.
And I know when we, there's been some discussion about comprehensive plans and the ability to make sure the public knows about what plans are and that are involved in these plans. And I was talking to some people that were involved in it back in 2017, and there were town halls and the public was involved in these. It wasn't just, here's our comprehensive plan from somebody that doesn't even live in our community and we sign off on it.
Right.
So I just want you, the public to understand that this is gonna be if we do this, it's gonna be a joint effort from all of us.
And the selection process, you would have a selection committee that would select your consultant, and you would communicate. I can help facilitate the RFP process or whatever I need to, but basically
It's up to the community to pick us to
Oh,
pick
yes, I
that.
would not be involved in the selection.
Yes.
It's all up to
And it's
you.
not just our community, it's all the surrounding communities. If I recall, in 2017, City of Riley, Manhattan, I mean, we had Milford, Wakefield,
Mhm.
I mean,
They were
because
all-
it's far reach.
And so, I'll say Grandview Plaza was not interested in doing it, so
Right.
that's fine, they don't have to do it. Just a recommendation, so. And again, they're gonna pay for 90% of that, so.
Very well, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have the AUSA Defense Community Summit.
Well, I just wanted to put this isn't gonna take very long and I'll probably need Jana's help, but, every year we all go to the Association of the United States Army, not everybody, but everybody from the
Representative.
yeah, representatives from the city, county, and the school district, and sometimes there's up to 10 or 12 of us that go. Well, I was brought to my attention about the defense community summits, and I'd like Jana to talk about it, because I really think that we should split our, where half of us go to AUSA and half of us go to the defense community summits, because that's where the money is, and the elected officials should really be going there and advocating for our community. So would you just tell us a little bit about what is that at the Defense Community Summit?
Stand up so you could maybe have a better chance of hearing me. So I'm not part of AUSA, but American Defense Communities is a separate entity from the military, but it's all branches of the military. They have 2 meetings a year. One is in Washington DC, which people say it's more policy, but the one they have in November is called Installation Innovation. And it is more, all of the defense communities go to hear about funding, what other communities across the country are doing, best practices, other problems. It's a great way to network, and I have noticed over the years that there are always contingencies from military installations, from county people and city people, and I just really wish that we could do that as well. Fort Riley goes with us, and also the military affairs people go from Junction City and Manhattan. So we do have that group together, but I see a lot of county commissioners going, and there's a lot of regional councils that go, so that's great for me to learn from them what they're doing and what we should be doing. And so it would be really wonderful to have more representatives from our surrounding communities and counties of Fort Riley.
Yeah, I feel I'm gonna go to the defense community one this year instead of AUSA, and AUSA is more of, we're advocating for our communities for the military, and I think that is important, but maybe 6 of us can go to one thing, 6 of us can go to AUSA, so.
Divide and conquer.
I just thought I would bring that up because I didn't know anything about the Defense Community Summit until I was talking
So
to
it's October
Janice.
28th to the 30th.
And we, because we're a member, we can get that group rate. I believe it's like $400 for a community representative to go.
And you said it's twice a year?
The installation innovation is once a year in the fall, and this year's in San Antonio, which is a lot less expensive. They try to keep it less expensive. The other one is always in DC.
The transient guest tax is 15%, but.
I ain't paying it. I ain't
We'll
paying it.
segue from our. Thank you. City update on sidewalk Spring Valley Road.
As everybody knows, the city received KDOT funding. I want to say it was 90% KDOT, 10% local funds to build a sidewalk on the west side of Spring Valley Road from a little south of Ash Street or Liberty Hall Road, whichever side you're on, south to Valley Drive, and then along Valley Drive to the west to connect where there's no sidewalk. That's been delayed a couple of times because on this KDOT grant, the city does not bid it. I mean, we write a check to KDOT for our 10%, and they take care of everything. And some KDOTs, we do the bidding through our process instead. It's been delayed at least 2 times, the letting, because of the ability to obtain a certain easement. And I know Britton's still working on that right now, and has a correspondence today to get another easement. So that's all the holdup right there. And KDOT, if we don't have the easement done by, it's now scheduled to be mid to late December. If that easement is not obtained by probably 1st of September at the latest, maybe 1st of August even, it could get pushed off in there 6 months, because KDOT then has to have it to do all their matching work as well. So it's been held back twice because of getting a small easement. Every other neighbor in that neighborhood has had no problem getting easements.
So it's
Some were
one
donated.
property owner holding
Yes.
this.
One property owner. Yeah. And
And
it's
I
one,
take it they don't have kids that need to.
it's one we had issues with before, another issue, so it is what it is. And I know we got permission from the commission to file for eminent domain, so. Anything else, Brittany?
Well, this is the one that is also by the culvert.
Yeah.
Then that needs repaired. We have the permanent easement for that, and we're basically literally 4 words away from, they have a lot of implications on the temporary construction easement. So that's where we're at as of this afternoon,
So you said that's what's holding up that culvert repair as well?
Yes.
Correct.
so. And the thing is, we still need a temporary construction easement for area around it to mobilize and set up. But I'm hoping by the end of this week, it should be done, or else we're filing one or 2.
Okay. With that, we will adjourn.
Before we go, I want to warn everybody that the Federal Trade Commission is considering a rule that would require hotels to advertise the full price.
With all the taxes.
It's a proposed rule, but I don't know where it stands. I knew I wasn't crazy. I heard about it.
No.
I would like
The
to
school
say,
didn't have anything on here, but I just want to say we do have summer school going on right now, June 5th through 28th, and that everything right now is still on track with our ECC. That would be the one thing that affects everybody with city, county, and school. So that's really all the school district has.
what's CCC now?
Early childhood.
So that is a thing,
Yes.
and we are definitely getting one.
Yeah, we have one. We're still doing it. Yes. In old high school grounds. So that's really our only update. Wasn't this one?
Well, I want to say thank you to whoever brought the camera. Someone listened.
Alex?
I had to remind you.
Anything else?
Dewey reminded me as well.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Oh, next meeting is gonna be August 26th. Trying to get out of here quick.
And that's yours, right?
Yes, and if anybody has anything they want in the agenda, let me know. Put it on there.
Chris, it's over.
We are.
Okay.